Seems like every single year, car manufacturers just want to make their car feel like a train. You get in it, you put in your destination, and it drives you there. You don't even have to touch steering wheel sometimes now. Back in the 80s, people were different. They wanted to feel connected to the car, and they didn't really care for things like power steering. Why would I need that? I got muscles. Things like AC. Why would I need that? I can just roll the window down. I mean, it seems like nowadays, if anything reaches over 75, people start freaking out. I go to my classroom and the AC's broken one day, and everybody is just like sweating buckets in there.
What the hell? Whoa!
And complaining constantly, like, damn, it ain't even that hot. But that's probably because I have a car with no AC. See, these old cars, they make you a little bit tougher. And with all the luxuries of new cars, you got all these wussies coming out. But if you want to be different than them and you want to drive an actual car, then you are in the right place, because today we're going to go over the ultimate buyer's guide on the second gen CRX. Although it's bare bone, it's a blast to drive, and we're going to go over the years, the trims, the common problems these cars have, some rare parts that add value to the car you're looking at, and last but not least, the 5 rarest colors you can get on this car to stand out a little bit more in your new CRX. But before we get into this video, please make sure to go down and like and subscribe if you're new, and join the Discord if you like to play video games or just talk about cars. The first year you could buy the second gen CRX was in 1988, and they came out with 3 different engine options. You could either get the base 16 valve D15B2 that made 1,493 cc, and you can just tell when a car is low horsepower when instead of them using horsepower they use cc, and it equivalates to about 99 horsepower. Then you had the HF, which stood for high fuel economy, and this had an 8 valve D15B6 in it that made 62 horsepower. You were not going fast in this thing, and this was pretty much just like the Prius of the 80s. It had a combined rating of 44 miles per gallon. Prius, I think, gets 50. So this car is about 30 years older and only got 6 less gas mileage, and you don't got to worry about all that hybrid crap breaking on you. And then you had the SI, the one that you probably mostly want. This came with a 16 valve, a D16A6 that made 1,590 cc, which equivalates to about 106 horsepower. Although it's not a lot more than the base, you'll just take what you can get. It's an extra 6 horsepower on a 100 horsepower car. I feel like that's a pretty good bump in my book. And then in 1989, they decided to make this slow car fast and added 3 horsepower.
Baby!
For 1990, the outside was updated with tweaks to the front bumper covers, headlamps, and the taillights. And the SI received all new 14-inch alloy wheels. And now the SI came standard with all 4 disc brakes. And this generation of the CRX came to an end in 1991, and it was pretty much the same thing as the 1990 model with slightly different colors. Now let's move on to the common problems or the things you should be looking for when checking out a CRX to buy. The number one thing you want to be looking for is if the timing belt, the tensioner, and the water pump has been changed recently. If the last owner can't provide documentation of when it was changed, you might as well just change it to be safe, and at that point, you might want to bargain down the price a little bit. But if he does have documentation, you want to change it about every 60,000 miles. And just like any other 30-year-old car, you're going to want to look for rust on this. 2 main spots are going to be at the sunroof drains. These get clogged up, and if water just sits there, that will definitely cause rust, and in the wheel arches, I'm guessing from salt. Now, one of the most notorious issues with this car, you might think it's something mechanical, something you need to change out before your whole car goes kaboom. Well, I got some good news for you, because since it's the Honda CRX, the most notorious issue is the climate control panel breaking. Lucky for you, people are starting to mess around with 3D printing, and I think a couple people are reproducing this part, so it's not too bad of a problem anymore. They used to go for like 300, 400 bucks. Now some people might be charging more than others, but I mean, at the end of the day, it should be cheaper. Another notorious issue with this car is the main relay going bad because of bad solders. They just kind of break after a while. You know, it's a 30-year-old car, and all you pretty much got to do is replace it. But if you don't replace it, some of the issues you might have is just your car not starting. The main relay controls the fuel pump and the injectors, and without those two, you ain't getting nowhere. Another issue you might face is that the brake lights stay on even when the car is off, and that is because there's a little plastic piece that is attached to the brake pedal arm, and this is what presses in the brake pedal switch. And pretty much what happens is it either gets lost or broken or something, and they just stay on. And the easiest way to fix this, from what I found online, costs 2 cents. All you do is glue 2 pennies together, glue it to where that plastic thing used to be, and you are good to go. And this last issue kind of goes into the rust thing again. Just the sunroof issues. Sometimes it doesn't all the way close, and sometimes it doesn't all the way open. This can lead to water getting in the cabin, creating rust. But the easy way to fix this is to disassemble your sunroof switch and get some sandpaper, pretty much sand down all the contacts. Problem solved. Yeah, so that's pretty much all of the major issues you might find with the CRX you're looking at. I know, none of them are huge, and that's great for you. I mean, you were smart enough to buy a Honda, and now it's paying off. Now let's move into rare parts. Now every single CRX had different options on it, and some of these parts are rare, and if you find these parts on the car you're looking at, that might be a big plus to you if you're into those certain items. So first we're going to go through some exterior rare parts, and then we're going to go into the interior. But for the exterior, you got front fog lights. It's kind of even hard to get a picture of these, and I don't know why they're that rare. I mean, shit, everywhere in the US has fog at least one time a year, so they shouldn't be that rare, but I guess they are. Next one is a parking pole. If you're really bad at parking, I guess this is for like the elderly people back in the day. Probably rare because not too many elderly people bought this car. I bet it'd have been a pain to get in and out of if your like knees are bad. Then you got the bonnet bra and fender covers. I never really understood why people actually like these. It just makes the paint really uneven when you take it off finally after 40 years of it being on, and like the paint under it is so shiny, and then the rest of the car is faded. It just doesn't really make any sense, and I guess why that's so rare. I'd throw it in the trash too. Next up is the glass top, which is one of the coolest things to see on a CRX. I mean, who would have thought the base model economy car would have a glass top like a Caddy? Rear window louvers, I'm not sure why these are rare, honestly. I feel like they should still be making these, but for some reason nobody has jumped on that opportunity yet, so they're still rare. Any Mugen parts, and heated mirrors. It's kind of crazy to see that the CRX had like luxury items. Who would have thought a Honda CRX would have heated mirrors? I don't even think that's standard in new cars. For the inside of the car, we have heated seats. I mean, again, I don't want to seem redundant, but a Honda in the 90s with heated seats, that's pretty insane. The center storage armrest, a personal box, which is pretty cool. It's like an ashtray for people who don't smoke. So if you don't smoke, you swap that baby out, and it's for quote-unquote personal use. I don't know what you're going to be sticking in there, if it's jewelry, but it's definitely an interesting idea. Next is the rear storage box, the glass roof cover for the interior, and the access shift boot and access steering wheel that just spruced up the interior a little bit more. Now for my favorite part of the video, the top 5 rarest colors you could get for a CRX. And to be honest, they only have like 10 colors for this car in the US, but the 5 rarest ones are pretty damn cool. Number 5th spot is Blade Silver Metallic. I mean, the name's pretty cool, but the color is not. It is just a regular silver, and if I were to compare it to anything, I'd probably compare it to like a DeLorean's color. They made 12,142 of these. For the number 4 spot on this list, we got Torino Red Pearl. They made 9,882 of these, and it is a beautiful dark red, and it makes a car look exactly like it's supposed to. A little sporty red hatch. Who knows, someone might mistake your CRX as a Ferrari in this color. Next up on the list is Barbados Yellow. And what is Barbados? Let me search this up real quick. So after me looking it up, I figured out this is the yellow that's in the Barbados flag. I don't really know about this color. Yellow on small cars just ain't really that good, but with the black lines on the CRX, I'm teetering on it. I think it looks pretty decent. And they made 8,264 of these. Now for the second rarest color, you got Celestial Blue Pearl. Now this is where the colors really get interesting. This color is so beautiful. And this is definitely my second favorite on the list, not only because it's the second rarest, but just because it's so beautiful. And they made 7,983 of these. And the number 1 rarest color you can get for a second gen CRX is Tahitian Green Pearl. Now this is just like Celestial Blue, except a little bit more green. And that's why I would have to say this is my favorite color. It is just such a perfect shade. It almost looks like a Fox Body Mustang in Corba Teal, except it's on a cheap Honda. And that's what makes it so cool. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe down below. Make sure to join the Discord if you're new. And if you have any other suggestions to do a buyer's guide on, make sure to leave that in the comments below, because I really do take your suggestions seriously. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.